Welcome to the lecture of RFIC design. This is your lecture 11 on unit 2, and today we'll continue the discussion on drawbacks of Hartley architecture. So in the previous two classes we were discussing Hartley architecture as image reject receiver. Uh, with LSI it was rejecting images and the signal was retained. We have done a mathematical analysis of the same, and then later we have discussed about one of the drawback, which is it is the architecture is sensitive to mismatches in the gain or phase of the in phase arm and the quadrature arm. So for that we have arrived at a performance metric, image rejection ratio, and IRR will be so we have seen the ideal value and the practical values of image rejection ratio. So now we will look at another drawback of this Hartley architecture. Now that is in the variations in the absolute values of R1 and C1. So from the architecture we know that we use a RC-CR network in order to establish a 90-degree phase shift in the architecture. So when I look at the network, say this is capacitor C1 and say this is R1. This is R1 and C1, and we know that okay, so if I write V out 1 by V in, when I write V out 1 by V in, or the upper network, this C1 into R1, this part is actually acting as a high pass filter. So this V out 1 by V in actually will give a transfer function of a high pass filter. So I can write this as H of HPF. It is actually a transfer function, so it is a function of frequency. Similarly, V out 2 by V in, this as a low pass transfer function. So we generally write it as H of LPF. Right. Now, what we have understood from the previous discussion is the angle between the first and second, or we have understood in this way, the angle or the phase between the high pass filter and the phase of this low pass filter is equal to 90 degree, right. So this is at all frequencies, and at any choice of R1 and C1. So whatever value you are taking for R1 and C1, the angle or the phase between both the arms will maintain a phase angle of 90 degree at all frequencies. Now if we are looking at the magnitude and phase of the transfer function, it is both of high pass and low pass transfer function. Let us draw that and verify. So we are looking at, we are trying to see what will happen if there are variations in the values of R1 and C1. Will it result in some issue that that will not ensure the cancellation of images? That is what our point of discussion here. Now yeah, Rakshak, I didn't get non 90 degree phases. Yes, yes. So if there is mismatch in R and C, yes, that happens. So mismatch is occurring whenever there is variations in the values of R. That is true. Yes. So we will see. Yeah, we will. So in order to get this cancellation, what we need is we need equal amplitude, right? Yeah. So how that is getting affected when there is absolute variations in R1 and C1 is what we are going to discuss now. Now, so if I plot the magnitude and phase of this transfer function, both low pass and high pass, one thing we know, the angle between or the phase between both the transfer function will always will maintain a phase angle of 90 degree, right. So if I first draw the high pass low pass filter transfer function, say this is the magnitude of h of s. So here I can draw both the transfer functions. So say this is low pass filter transfer function. So after at cutoff frequency, actually it will drop. The magnitude will reduce in 20 dB per decade. So say if this is equal to 1, now at cutoff frequency, say that is 1 by R1 C1, because my x axis is omega. So at 1 by R1 C1, the magnitude will be 1 by root 2 times. Probably if you write the transfer function, you will get to know this value will become 1 by root 2. I hope you understand that. So this is actually the magnitude of low pass filter transfer function, right? Now, if I correspondingly, if I draw the transfer function of high pass filter, it will be at a high frequency, you will have that, but as the right, there is a cutoff frequency here, lower cutoff frequency, and that cutoff frequency is marked as 1 by R1 C1, and the magnitude will be equal to 1 by root 2 at that particular frequency. So this is the transfer function of high pass filter, right? Now, if I look for the phase, if I look for the phase at 0, probably we can yeah. So the phase of both will be, let me draw this. For low pass filter, it will be 0, and at infinity it will reach minus 180. So maybe I'll mark this as minus 90 degree. So it will be something like this. Yeah, at very high frequency it will reach 90 degree, and for the other filter it will start from 90. So it will start from 90 and it will reach 0 at very high frequency. That means if you look at the phase difference, you can see that always it will maintain a phase difference of 90 degree. That is what we can see from the phase response of high pass and low pass filter, right? Now our discussion, or what we are trying to look at this point is, so if I carefully look at the transfer function, say if I look at the magnitude of V out 1 by V in, this magnitude value is equal to the magnitude of V out 2 by V in, both are equal, and that is equal to 1 by root 2, and this happens only at a particular frequency. What is that frequency? 1 by R1 C1, right? So both the high pass filter and low pass filter magnitudes are equal, and that value is equal to 1 by root 2 only at 1 by R1 C1. That means I can say that the output amplitudes are equal only at omega equal to 1 by R1 C1. So only at that frequency output amplitudes are actually equal. Rohit, I didn't get, what is it 1 by R1 C1? Rohit, you can message. I didn't get. I thought. Oh, sorry. Yeah. That is right. So output amplitudes are equal only at omega equal to 1 by R1 C1. Yes, that is true. Now, if I look at this omega, or what is this omega? So we are using this 90 degree filtering. If I look at the initial architecture, yes. So here you can see this is your Hartley image reject receiver. So this 90 degree phase shift is done after mixing operation. That means what I have here is intermediate frequency. Right? What I have as the frequency here is intermediate frequency. So this omega is actually omega IF. This omega IF is 1 by R1 C1. I can write in that way. Now what we are looking at here is this point is what will happen if there are variations in the absolute values of R1 and C1, right? Say I am considering a small variation, say delta R and delta C are the small changes in R and C, in resistor and capacitor values. It is R1 and C1 in our case. This variations can be process variation, temperature variation. So anyway, if I am considering small change in the absolute values of resistance and capacitance, now both the magnitudes are equal and that value is equal to 1, right? So if I do this operation, the magnitude of H of high pass filter divided by magnitude of low pass filter, the ratio of these two is actually 1, right? So how can I write 1? So I can write this 1 in other way as omega if into R1 C1, right? So if you write the transfer function of both, we can so high pass filter transfer function will be S R1 C1 divided by 1 plus S R1 C1, and your low pass filter transfer function is equal to 1 by 1 plus S R1 C1. So if I write the magnitude, the ratio of these two magnitudes is actually omega into R1 C1, and our omega now is omega IF, right? Now say if I am including the variations delta R and delta C, I can write omega IF into this R1 plus a small change in R and C1 plus a small change in C. These are the variations, and why I am considering this variation is it is perfectly all right to consider variations because we are using two resistors and capacitors. Definitely there will be variations in the absolute values. Now what I will do is I'll take R1 common from the first term, the second term, and C1 common from the second term, so that I can write this as 1 plus delta R by R1 into 1 plus delta C by C1, right? Now we know that R1 C1 is equal to 1 by omega IF, right? Omega IF R1 C1 is actually 1. So this term will not be there. What will be remaining is 1 plus delta R by R1 into 1 plus delta C by C1, right? Or if I just elaborate this, I can write this as 1 plus delta R by R1 plus delta C by C1 plus delta R delta C by R1 C1. Right. So so this is the term. Now, so the magnitude of high pass filter to magnitude of low pass filter should be ideally equal to 1, but that 1 is now that is not 1. What is the value? It is equal to 1 plus delta R by R1 plus delta C by C1 plus delta R delta C by R1 C1, right? Now even if we neglect the third term, even if we neglect that this term is very small, whatever we have here should be considered as some mismatch in the gain, because ideally the gain should be 1. Now the gain of 1 is not true. Whenever there is variation, you have some gain mismatch term, right? This will definitely, so this delta R by R1 can be from 10% onwards. So the resistor values difference can vary from 10% to 20%. So all these things will actually result in what? What is the ultimate problem? The ultimate problem is if this is not providing the ratio of the transfer function of high pass and low pass filter, if it is not equal to 1, your image cancellation will be imperfect. So if the image cancellation is imperfect, that definitely that will be affecting the spectrum. You will have corruption from the image signal onto the desired signal, right? So That is one thing. And I think somebody asked about the noise contribution of R1 and C1. That also can be considered as another problem. This RC-CR section will definitely introduce noise. It will introduce noise, and ultimately that is a passive passive circuit, right? So some kind of attenuation also will be there. Right. So, so these are the problems, or these are the things what are associated with the Hartley architecture regarding the imperfect cancellation of image. Yes, there is a question. It wouldn't be right to consider the variation only in the transfer function. It should be considered in one of the filters. All right, Anirudh, can you unmute?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, so in the transfer function, we see that we have omega if into R1 C1.
Yes.
Um, the R1 C1 over there actually belongs to the HPF, right? As in the R1 C1 that is a part of the HPF
You
branch.
you are referring to this equation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So here, okay, we can consider in that way. Yes, by looking at the transfer function ratio, right? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
Okay.
I'm saying it should be added. So since you're considering the variation as delta R and delta C
Hmm.
in the HPF branch, it should be
Hmm.
considered in the denominator as well.
Mm, okay. I didn't. Okay. So what happened here is both R1 and C1 can vary, right? So what I have done here is I have added the variations in the R and C to R1 and C1. Now my R1 and C1 should be actually same. So if you look at the circuit diagram, this is C1, this is R1, and this is C1, and this is R1, right?
Yes, sir.
So both should have equal value. Then only I can say that this is equal to 1 by R1 C1.
Yeah, yes, sir. So my doubt was that the variation will come as a function of the component, right? It won't be a
Yes.
variation in the transfer function.
Yeah, it is only the function. It is the component variation only. Yes, that is true.
Um,
Yes.
yes, sir. So then in the expression of the HPF,
Okay.
transfer function of the HPF, it will be S times R1 plus delta R times C1 plus delta C divided by 1
Hmm.
plus S into R1 plus delta R into C1
Okay.
plus
You
delta
mean to
C.
say that
They won't get cancelled.
you mean to say that we are considering variations only here,
Yes, sir.
only in one branch. Okay, so what I have written here is variations in the absolute values of R1 and C1. So we cannot say that only one component variations can happen to either of the branches, right?
Uh, yes, sir.
It can happen. So that is why I have taken this analysis by after. So one thing we are sure is when I take the ratio of both, we should actually get a value of 1. Yes, we can definitely do that analysis. That may be little more complex in the sense you may have to write little more steps.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I got your point. What you're
Okay.
saying is, in that case, I think you will get a whole big expression where you will have all these components, these two, this denominator, because this cancellation will not happen there, right?
Exactly. Exactly, sir.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that can be a little more detailed analysis
All right.
that I would say. But what I have done here is, since we are looking for the equal value from the 90 degree phase shift operation, equal value in the sense only at one frequency we are getting equal amplitude, right? So we our focus is only on that frequency. Now that can be made easy if I take the ratio, and that ratio should be equal to 1.
All right, sir. Yeah.
All right. I hope you understood my point, how I have taken this analysis. And in fact, what you're telling is right. It can be, I think we have to work it out and see what is the final expression coming even there. So this
All right.
could be a little more easy way to understand that there is a variation from 1, and that variation is contributed by this delta R by R1 and delta C by C1. Yeah, definitely. I think we can try even the other way as well. Yes, good observation,
Okay.
Anirudh. Yeah,
That was just my point. Thank you, sir.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Anirudh. Yes. All right. Yeah. So these are the drawbacks of Hartley architecture. So just to recap, this was the architecture what we understood through image cancellation. No, what are the required operations here in order to cancel image? We have to consider input signal as LSI, that will result in an image reject receiver. And then after doing the mathematical analysis, we have seen, now we have looked at three drawbacks of Hartley architecture. One is it is sensitive to mismatches of the gain and phase of the upper arm and lower arm. Then the second one is the variations in the values of R1 and C1 will definitely result in imperfect cancellation of image. And finally, these components can introduce noise. So these are some of the drawbacks of Hartley architecture. So whenever we list a set of drawbacks, the immediate thing is, so there is some other architecture which can resolve some of these drawbacks. Probably that is the way we have started. We have handled all the architectures right from the beginning. So we started with a heterodyne simple set heterodyne architecture. We understood there is a problem, and then we moved to dual IF, or the dual down conversion receiver. And that was the way we have actually like progressed in understanding of the architecture. So similar way, as we have seen the drawbacks of Hartley architecture, now there is one another architecture which can resolve the drawbacks of Hartley, and that is called as Weaver architecture. So this is also identified as an image reject receiver. Right. So the main aim of this Weaver architecture is one is to avoid the issues from the RCCR network, what we discussed just now. So what are the issues we have seen in this RCCR network, especially that to introduce a phase shift? All those issues should be avoided when we actually move to a new architecture, because probably you would have understood that this is a serious problem, because we have to rely upon even the smallest component value in order to get the perfect cancellation of image. So that is the one main thing to move out of Hartley and to develop a new architecture called Weaver. This will avoid the issues of this RCCR network. Second thing is yeah, so we have seen that um, in order to like we were using, so we were mixing a signal with its quadrature phase, or we were actually implementing Hilbert transform. So that was the idea what even this Weaver architecture is using. So we need a 90-degree phase shift operation, that is for sure, that we know, in order to cancel image. But instead of using an RCCR network, we are actually replacing that again with a quadrature mixing. So this Weaver architecture uh, replaces this RCCR network, or this 90-degree phase shift what we are getting from this RCCR network with the quadrature mixing. Right. So that means the architecture remains same. In order to implement this 90-degree phase shift operation, RCCR element is replaced by another quadrature mixer. So I'll draw the architecture. We will start with an RF signal, which is our x of t. From there, we will have two branches. One branch will be mixed using sine wave, and another using a cosine wave. So I'm numbering it as omega 1, and in the, yeah, I'll tell you that. So if you look at the previous architecture, we were writing it as omega LO and omega LO. Now this RCCR network, since we are replacing using another set of quadrature mixing, we are numbering it as omega 1 and omega 2 for the second stage. So soon after mixer, we'll have a low pass filter. This is low pass filter. Now the output of this is again given to another mixer where we will provide a local oscillator signal at an omega 2 frequency. Similarly here we'll have cos omega 2t, and since it is a mixing operation, it should be followed by a low pass filter in order to cancel the high frequency, or in order to remove the high frequency components, and then we have to combine it. So we have to see how it should be. It should be added or subtracted. We should see now. Let me just write it as a combiner. We will see when we do this graphical analysis. We'll uh, check whether this operation should be just summing or difference operation. Whatever it is, we'll look at that. Right now, one important point is for both the mixers, we are assuming low side injection for both mixers. Right. So this is our starting point. Now, what I want you guys to do is let me mark certain points here. So this is your input, which is x of t. Maybe after this low pass filter, I'll mark point as A, and similarly this point as B. Now this is C and this is D, and this is E and this is F. Right. So I'll give you the input signal. It is common. The analysis remains same as Hartley. The only difference is we have two sets of quadrature mixing, right? So I will write the input signal here, x of t. So the x of t signal is this A signal cos omega ct plus phi signal plus A image cos omega imt plus phi image. So this you can consider as the input signal. So what I want you guys to do is uh, you can write what is xi of t, what is xb of t, then yeah, followed by xc, xd, then xe and xf. So write all the intermediate waveforms and also write E and F. So once you write E and F, we can decide whether this operation is a summing operation or a difference operation. So after writing X, E and XF, we can write what is IF output, whether IF output is a sum of these two or difference of these two, right? So I will ask you guys to perform these operations and write uh, all these signal and image values at different points. So this you can perform, and once this is done, we can do the graphical operation directly, right? So okay, I can wait for a few minutes for you guys to perform this operation.
So can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes, sure. All right. So with respect to this graph, I would ask every one of you to perform the operation and write down the values from xa to ixf of t. We will continue this in the next class. So you can try this out now.